May I venture to know the illustrious names of my heroes?
I'm Aegis. I'm your illustrious hero. I'm your lustrous hero. I'm your lusty hero. Yeah, I feel like, as I've said before, if I woke up suddenly with magic powers and a cosmic baseball bat, I don't know if I would have a whole lot of time for this kind of thing. I would be far too busy traveling the galaxy, going to exotic planets, having people fan me with giant palm leaves.
Welcome. You've got mail.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Come on in, find your seats. Thank you so much for joining me. Tonight, we're going to be having a fantastic lesson, one that I'm very happy about. But how are you? You made it to Saturday. Congratulations. Made it through. We made it through. We're finally on the weekend. Just in time to get all the housework done. But hello, Rao. Hello, Dragon. Hello, Avil Dragon. It's aging time! And then I aged all over the place. Yes, yes. It's Friday, actually. I'm used to doing the lessons on Saturday. That's right. It's not Saturday, it's Friday. Just as well. Yeah, tomorrow I have a party to go to, so I can't do the lesson on Saturday. We'll be doing it today. Yes, yes. Got to clean up the ferret's room, and I have to schedule their vet appointment for their yearly checkup. I got a bunch of stream stuff to do, and the throwing system stopped working, and I got to schedule my wisdom teeth removal. And let me consult my list. What else do I got to do here? I got to edit this lesson tomorrow. Drink a little water. Oh, I'm going to have to disappoint you because I'm actually drinking Coke Zero Orange Cream. Yeah, it's not water. It's Coca-Cola Zero Orange Cream. They had 3 12-packs for $10, and I had to get that because I rarely drink soda. But a 12-pack is like $10 on their own usually. So I figured I would treat myself. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend. So let's head to the main classroom so that we can get this show on the road, shall we? There we are. This is our new sort of holding screen. It's got the Aegis OS 99 running in the background. I do know how to use a semicolon, and I love using semicolons. I use them probably too much. Maybe my favorite punctuation mark. I was just saying today in another group that I love the M dash, and I'm very upset that it is associated with AI now. Because it's a beautiful punctuation mark. And it's appropriate in some places. And I'm going to keep using it, even if I have to note every time that I am not AI. I just love the M dash, and they can have it when they pry it from my cold, dead typing fingers. Yes, yes. I did say I would show you some new art, and you've probably seen this first one already, because it's on my Twitter and Blue Sky banners. But I got this from Kaisharis, our new banner. My two forms with my two ferrets. One of them is very stupid, and the other is very dumb. But I also have this cool piece from Giulietta Sofia. Pixelated Mies. Not me like the Wii Shop Mies, but me. M-E. It's the Barbie and Ken meme, except I'm the Barbie and the ferrets are the Ken, and it's them getting me into trouble again. He's in the jailhouse now. By Sage Green Possum. Yes, yes. I'm all roughed up. They, of course, devious smiles as ever. My favorite depiction of them. It really captures their essence. Their evil, wicked essence. They have the devil's mischief. We haven't had an update on the behavior chart for a little while. I guess maybe we're in a holding pattern because I think I might make a new one. But you know how it is. Take a good look and let me know if you think any changes would be beneficial. I don't want to get rid of Greg and B and Angus and May. But maybe we could add some characters, some more representative characters to each tier. But it is time for our breathing exercise first. So let's take a moment to get ourselves nice and relaxed. Sit up straight, unclench your whatever is clenched. And then take a moment to put one hand or paw or claw or talon or tentacle or hoof, whatever it is that you have on the end of your limbs, and put it over your heart. Because you want to feel your heartbeat. And then you take your other hand or paw or claw or talon or tentacle or hoof or tail or whatever it is that you have on the end of some other appendage, and you put it over your abdomen. Because we want to feel our abdomen rise and fall. We want to pull the air down deep where we have more surface area, give our lungs more time to extract the oxygen. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. We're going to breathe in through the nose, and then we're going to hold it gently. And then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. In for 4 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and exhale for 6 seconds. So, when the pink ball gets back to the top, we'll begin. Get ready and really do this. Follow along with me. I'll tell you why it's so important when we're done. Just 3 deep breaths. 1 minute of your time. Ready? Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and hold it. Exhale all the way out, nice and slow. And breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and hold it. And exhale, gently, nice and slow, but all the way out. One more time, back around. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and hold it. And exhale. And that's all it takes. And Lady Ducks 1, thank you so much for enrolling in our little classroom learning community. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy to have you here. But today, it is October 24th, 2025. And what is today? Beyond, October 24th. Well, it's National Make a Difference Day. Well, this weekend is, which is part of why we're talking about donating blood and plasma. It's very, very important. But I think just as importantly, it's Ace Week. This is Ace Week, so we're celebrating all things Ace, all of our Ace friends, fostering asexual awareness and inclusivity. You did your random good deed yesterday, Raul. What was it? What did you do? Tell us all about your good deed and inspire us to do good deeds. Yes, yay, dragon. Happy Ace Week to all. That gets us to our lesson. Today, class, we're going to be talking about blood and plasma. We're going to be talking about giving the gift of life. Sometimes I guess that seems like an exaggeration, like, oh, the gift of life. No, I mean, you really are giving someone a chance at life when you donate blood or plasma. But why? And how does that work? Let's talk about it. Donating blood, it's freaking amazing. It is absolutely astounding. Because of all charitable gifts, blood is the most priceless. You can put a price on just about anything else. But your blood is medicine. It's not just blood. It's not just someone who is having surgery and has lost blood and needs more. Blood is also medicine. You can give all kinds of gifts. You can make all kinds of donations. You can give someone your old clothes. You can donate to a good cause at a yard sale. You can give money to charity. But the gift you give when you donate blood or plasma is the gift of healing. The need for blood is universal. It's needed everywhere in the world, and it's needed all the time. And it's constant. That need never goes away. And it's crucial. It isn't just something that is needed everywhere all the time. It's something that if people don't get it, they will die. Or they will live with terrible, terrible diseases. Zetsunalpha points out, everyone thinks they don't need blood until a metal box at least 2 tons starts barreling in their general direction, and that can happen to anyone at any time. In fact, it kind of reminds us of why we need to support disability causes, because it could be us or someone we care about at any time. One of the other things that I like to say when we talk about blood and plasma donation is that it's also personal. Other donations might seem faceless. You give the money and then it's gone. And you hope that it goes somewhere good. You hope that it goes directly to someone who needs it. But when you donate blood or plasma, there's a face, sometimes 2 or 3 faces, behind every pint that you donate. So I want to show this short clip to drive that home. Because it puts a very human face on this gift. Your gift of donated blood or plasma is not abstract. You don't have to hope or wonder if it's going to matter or help people. It will. And every pint, every bag that you donate has a story. So let's hear one of those stories right now.
Three-year-old Judah and his older brother Levi play checkers with their grandpa. In time, Judah will more fully understand the significance of this very special day, one he spent with a room full of family, friends, and total strangers who gave their own blood to save his life.
It is completely overwhelming. There's really no words to adequately express our gratitude.
It was a year ago in late November when Judah was admitted to UCLA Mattel Children's Hospital. He had been exposed to E. coli bacteria that quickly spiraled into a blood-destroying, life-threatening disease.
His ultimate diagnosis was hemolytic uremic syndrome, abbreviated HUS. His platelets were very dangerously low, which can cause internal bleeding.
So right off the bat, you hear, it isn't just someone who is in an accident. Anything could happen. This boy was exposed to E. coli and ended up needing a great deal of blood.
In the brain, the liver, the intestines.
It's worse than any nightmare. And when someone says, I can't imagine what you went through, I said, I can't imagine, and I lived through it.
The notion that blood will be available if you need it is really kind of a false concept. I think there's a comfort, you just assume that hospitals and blood banks are stocked, and the reality is that they're not.
Not just here at UCLA, regionally, it's actually nationwide where we're experiencing a blood shortage, and it's truly a crisis right now.
The community rallied. Mom and Dad's employer, Loyola Marymount University, teamed up with the Blood and Platelet Center at UCLA. And many of these, usually anonymous donors, met a now healthy Judah and his family on this day.
I can't say enough for the outpouring of support from the community and from our own UCLA Blood and Platelet Center, because without those transfusions, he wouldn't have made it.
I had no idea that there are patients like this little boy who received so many donations and that my blood would be, a part of his life.
I just assumed that, of course, when I donate, things will go to someone who really needs it. But it's certainly nice to actually put a face to it.
It's so rewarding, especially when you get news like this.
Judah is now back home. He battled back from the seizures, mini-strokes, a medically induced coma, and 47 transfusions. And a better reason to become a blood donor after hearing his heroic story would be difficult to find.
From the bottom of our hearts and souls, thank you.
For UCLA Health, Nancy Williams reporting.
We have very, very human face on every donation that you give. It could be someone that has been in an accident and needs your blood. Or it could be someone who is sick. But how did we get here? How did we discover the ability to give people blood? It seems kind of crazy, right? It is kind of crazy. We got here. This story goes all the way back to 1628. 400 years ago. Can you believe it? I can't believe it's already been 400 years. I feel old. But in 1628, the first transfusion was attempted. An English physician named William Harvey, was thinking about the circulation of blood and thought about blood transfusion. The first blood transfusion was attempted way back when the Ming Dynasty still existed. That's how far back it goes. And it was in 1665 when the first recorded successful blood transfusion occurred. A physician named Richard Lower was able to keep dogs alive by transfusion of blood from other dogs. In 1667, just a couple years later, Jean-Baptiste Denis, or Denis, I don't really speak French, I don't know. They were able to report successful transfusions from lambs to humans. Sheep blood was successfully transfused from a lamb to a person. Within 10 years, the transfusing of blood from animals to humans had to be blocked because, that doesn't actually work. But they were trying. They were trying to figure it out. They were experimenting. And then in 1795 in Philadelphia, an American physician, Philip Singh Physick, performed the first human blood transfusion. Although he sort of sat on his information, he didn't publish it at the time. But in 1818, we had the first successful human transfusion. 1818, the first successful human transfusion. It was James Blundell, a British obstetrician, performed the first successful transfusion for the treatment of postpartum hemorrhage. He used the patient's husband as a donor, extracted approximately 4 ounces from the husband's arm, and with a syringe, successfully gave that transfusion to the wife. And he did this 10 times over the next few years, some of which worked and some of which they didn't work. But those were the first successes. We had successful blood transfusions over 200 years ago. It was all the way back in the 1800s still that we were performing our first successful whole blood transfusions to treat hemophilia. But leeches, bloodletting, these things were common before then. There simply weren't other options. Life expectancy for hemophilia was, I'll leave that for later. Yes, it was all the way back in the days of the pirates when we were first doing blood transfusions. We were first getting them right and having successful blood transfusions all the way back in the days of Rembrandt. So it's been around a long time. And of course, in the 1900s, we first started learning about blood types, just in time for World War II. Just in time for the bloodiest war in history. Just in time for us to start stockpiling blood. Just in time for all of that work to figure out how blood transfusion worked, so we could keep these soldiers alive. Yeah, the bloodiest war in history so far, as Rao points out. Thank you so much. Thanks for that. Don't worry, the next one will be the last. There won't be any more wars after that one. But yes, it did see the advancement of the first blood banks. The hilarious notion that, hey, we should have lots of blood available in case anything like this happens again. We should just keep it around, just in case. And it was after this time, after World War II, that we started learning about Rh factor matching, which we'll talk about a little later, but that was a huge safety advancement. But what is blood? What is this delicious red drink that I certainly don't consume as a non-vampire? But what's in it? What are the major components of blood? Why does Dracula need it? Well, I don't know what exactly Dracula's getting out of it, but the composition of blood is primarily plasma. 55% plasma. Sort of I don't know, the vehicle. It carries the blood. 41% is red blood cells, or erythrocytes. And about 4% is our white blood cells and our platelets. What are all these things? What are all of these components? Well, let's talk about those. Red blood cells. The first thing we think of when we think of blood is redness. We think of a red blood cell. When we picture blood, we picture those little sort of disc-shaped objects. What do they do? Why are they so amazing and delicious? And why don't they look like this? Do you know who this is? I know some of you know who this is. This is the red blood cell from the show Cells at Work. Your blood wife, red blood cell, Rao says, you can't have all the wives. You have to pick one. You have to leave the rest for the rest of us. But red blood cell here, what does she do in the factory of the body? She delivers oxygen. She packages it up, just like so, and delivers it. The courier of oxygen drops off the oxygen, picks up the CO2, the waste products, as hemoglobin binds to the oxygen, brings it to where it needs to be. The prettiest courier in the world, certainly probably prettier than the courier in Fallout New Vegas. But she hasn't been through an apocalyptic wasteland. She doesn't patrol the Mojave, she patrols the body, carrying oxygen and removing CO2. But she doesn't look like that, sadly. This is what she looks like. But, you know, all blood is beautiful. And I like these curves just as much. These beautiful discs bringing oxygen to my beautiful brain. Now, red blood cells are red, as you might imagine by the name, but they're not blue, as people might say from blue blood or the blueness of our veins. Blood is not blue. It's never blue. It doesn't get the blues. It's red when it's filled with oxygen, when it's iron rich. It's dark red to the point of being sort of purplish when it's filled with CO2. So these sort of jello shooter looking things, you see the very dark blood and you see the very bright red blood. Yes, the vision of blue blood is sort of just for the diagrams. Why do veins look blue? Because they have to come through the skin. Well, they don't come through the skin. It's just sort of an optical illusion. It's such a dark purple. I mean, it's even pictured in this diagram as blue, right? But the color change is not quite that dramatic. Still, very cool. This weird liquid changing color as it saturates with one thing or the other. squirting through the wriggling tubes in our bodies. What a wonderful painting I've given you all there. But there's something about red blood cells, something that makes them different from each other. What do you think that is, class? What is it? That famous difference between red blood cells. Humans are very weird inside, Evil Dragon. And you are correct. It is blood type. We have different types of blood. Well, I mean, we only have one type of blood. Other people have different types of blood. Different from ours. Blood types. Hello, Henry Bear. Yes, yes, welcome. Glad to have you with us again. Blood types. What are they? What do blood types mean, and why do we have them? What are they? They are, as Zetsun Alpha points out, different antigens. What's an antigen? What's the antigen sitting on our red blood cells? Well, those are markers for our immune system. Mismatched markers on our immune system can be harmful to us. If you have the wrong type of blood going into someone else, you can have a negative reaction. Very simplified, there are A and B antigens. So you might have the A antigen on your red blood cells. Or you could have the B antigens on your red blood cells. Or your blood could have both A and B antigens. Or you could have neither. You could have no antigens on your red blood cells. You can be A or B or AB or O for none. None of the above. Yeah, Evil Dragon, we should do a deep dive on that. Maybe as a follow-up, we'll do a little digging and read about how the different antigens evolved. Because it does seem strange, right? Why do we have different types of blood between different people? But these are the four main types: A, B, AB, and none. And Henry Bear asks about RH type. Well, you are on the ball. The ABO system in general, though, it's just about the antigens and the antibodies. That's it. It's as simple as that. I mean, not that that's super simple, but you get it. So A, B, O, type O negative. Guessing maybe 1, 2 of you might know that band. I don't know. I had to throw it in there. So when we're talking about blood types and matching the right blood type for donation, how do we do that? How do we know who gets what and who can't get what? Who can get each of these little guys and who can't? You have the type A antigen, your body will have a negative reaction against type B, and vice versa. But if you have both types, obviously you wouldn't be able to have a bad reaction to either, because then you would be having a bad reaction to your own blood. You are a universal recipient if you have type AB. Because you already have type A and B antigens, neither A or B blood will give you a bad reaction. You're lucky. You're more likely to have the blood you need available. If you have type O, you don't have either antigens, so your blood can go into anyone else, because your blood isn't going to set off anyone else's antigens. But then we get into the question that was just asked. Bear. Positive or negative? Hear about O positive or O negative or A positive, AB negative. What does the positive and negative mean? What does that mean? What is the RH factor? Well, the positive or negative sign is known as the rhesus factor, not the Reese's Pieces factor, but rhesus. RH ESUS, like the rhesus monkey. And that is an inherited protein that can be found on the surface of the red blood cell, if you have it. If your blood type is positive, then your blood cells have that protein on them. If your blood type is negative, then your blood cells don't have that protein. To make that simpler, if you have Rh positive blood, you can get both Rh positive or Rh negative transfusions. If you are Rh negative, you can only get negative blood. Just like with the A, B, and O. If your blood has both A and B, your blood obviously can't have a negative reaction to either A or B. You've already got it. Your body would be having a negative reaction to its own blood. Why are there so many flavors of blood? Another good question for our deep dive into how this all evolved. Now, these are inherited traits. The Rh factor is inherited. If both parents have Rh positive blood, then the offspring will have positive blood too. If both are negative, they'll have negative blood. If you have a mix of positive and negative parents, then you could be either. So that's pretty simple. Both positive, you get positive babies. Both negative, you get negative babies. If you have a mix, you might get either. This is incredibly important. This is very important because Rh positive and Rh negative, if a person is pregnant with a child that has a different positive or negative blood, there can be a disorder. So it's important to get the blood screenings done. They're done not just to categorize for blood donation, but the Rh screening tests help healthcare providers give additional support to patients if there is an incompatibility. Because if there is a mismatch between mother and child, that can lead to a dangerous condition. Rao is already starting to put the pieces together. Rao's already starting to get the gears clanking in the old rusty brain. This is a giant vial filled with all of the different blood types in the world. Sure, that must smell and taste delicious, but these are all of the blood types. Which is the most common? Which is the one down here filling up the most of the vial? What's the most common blood type without looking it up? And I can't see you to make sure that you're not. You have to be honest. You have to have integrity. We've got guesses of A, B. We've got B minus, which is the grade that some of you will be getting in this class. A plus, Ivy says. Maybe they just want an A plus. We've got a B plus guess. We've got an AB plus. My school did give AB grades. They didn't do pluses or minuses. You got a grade between an A and a B, you got an AB. I always thought that was weird. But the most common blood type is actually O positive. It's the one nobody guessed. O positive is the most common blood type. Yeah. Blood that doesn't have either antigen, but does have the rhesus protein, is the most common type. With 39%. Almost 40% of people in the world have O positive blood. Rahi said it was the coolest blood type, so you assumed it was more rare. Based, rare. God, whatever happened to that? People still say based, but they don't say rare anymore. That was part of the meme. That was part of the Lil B meme. God, I'm old. Yeah, everything is based or cringe. Nothing in between. Now, Rao's going to guess AB positive for the least common. Going to go in the opposite direction. Avril says A plus or B plus. Ivy doubles down on an A. Henry Bear doubles down on the A. O negative is the second most common. O blood. O negative is 9%. Almost half of the blood in the world is O positive or O negative. Although that's not the second most common. This yellow one is the second most common. Shoot, I messed up. We got to go back. We got to go bald. Got to shave it all off. But yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're all right about the second most common. O negative, though, is 9%. But together, the O group, 48% of blood, almost half of the blood. The second most common, since you've already guessed, is A positive. So if you double down on your A positive, Avril Dragon, Ivy, Henry Bear, you are all correct. A positive is the second most common. Very good. It is the second most common with 30%. Almost 1 in 3 people have A positive blood. Like me, I have A positive blood. I have A plus blood, which is probably why I did so well in school and why I'm a teacher. And yes, Henry Bear, good news. Very good news for donors and recipients alike. Yeah, Avril Dragon. Our follow-up question. Why is the A antigen so much more common than the B? Is it because more people are alpha? There's hardly any betas or sigmas in the world? I don't know. Skibbity Rizzler, Ohio. But the next to describe there is A minus. Close but no cigar to the A plus. That's only 6% of blood is A negative. B plus, 9%. And the very, very rare blood types then are B negative with 2%, AB positive with 4%, and AB negative with just 1%. Only 1% of the blood in the world has both antigens, but does not have the Rh protein. So what does that mean for compatibility? Well, here's the chart. Consult the chart, class. Donors going across the top. If you have O negative blood, you can donate to anyone at all, because your blood does not activate the antigens A or B, nor will it activate the Rh, nor will it be a mismatch to the Rh factor. Now that is only 9% of the population though. Less than 1 in 10 people have this universal blood donor type. But you see the O positive there, the one that has 39% of the population. They can still donate to 4 different blood types. There are 8 in total, right? AB positive and negative, A positive and negative, B positive and negative, and O positive and negative. O positive can still donate to 4 different blood types. Can obviously donate to other O positives, which is great. That's the biggest chunk of the population. And to A positive, which is 30% of the population. And to B positive, which is 9%. And to that 1% of AB positive. So what is that? I wasn't a math major. 39% plus 30%. 69%. 69, get it? Plus another 9. 76%. 77%? Is that right? O positive donors can donate to 77% of the population. Of course, B negative blood can also donate to 4 different blood types. A negative blood can also donate to 4 different types. Yes, they did just happen through genetic pressures, genetic mutations. Type A is the oldest. That is the oldest type of blood. Going back tens of millions of years. Yes, you're right, Avril Dragon. As long as we have O negative blood, of course, people will be able to get it from anyone. But O negative is only 9% of the population. So people who have any of these other blood types, still very much needed. Those A negative people, those A minuses, yes, they can get blood from O negative, but that's only 9% of the population. So other people with A negative, every bit they give helps as well. Yeah, A is probably the oldest, according to the research, and type O is probably the second oldest. A mutation where they simply stopped having the antigen. And then that second antigen, that different type of antigen, is probably the one that came up next. AB would be the youngest. Would be the newest blood type, caused by type A people and type B people getting it on. Our H factor is something common to primates. Something that would have been the default, and then not having it would have been the mutation, a gene deletion. So it seems like there's a whole lot, but it is very simple. Your blood is needed. No matter what type you have, your blood is needed. And your blood might be especially useful if you have a certain type, like O negative. But to digress a little bit, let's talk about something that's a little bit lighter. How many of you have seen blood types listed in someone's profile? If you are a fan of certain types of video games or certain types of media, you might be more likely to have seen this before. Blood type in Metal Gear Solid 2, Ivy says. Pretty good call. Because in some places, like Japan, some places in Asia, there is a belief that your different blood type has an effect on personality. And so blood types are included in people's dating profiles or their social media profiles, like A and B shown here. It's believed, very generally, that, say, blood type A, a person is more likely to be a perfectionist, to be very organized and fastidious. They might be more reserved, considerate of others, very cautious person, but dutiful, reliable. And in negative aspects, they might be easily stressed out. They might be a very sensitive person. They might be very stubborn as well. But of course, it's totally not accurate to me, right? I'm not a perfectionist and highly organized, usually very reserved, but considerate and very reliable and dutiful, but cautious. I'm not sensitive to criticism or easily stressed. None of those things accurately describe me. But then there's AB blood types, which are believed to be, well, shocking, a mix of both. And what do people say B blood types are like? Well, they are the extroverts. They are the curious extroverts who are more outgoing, more likely to be unconventional, to be eccentric, more creative-minded. The artists, a little bit more unpredictable, perhaps a little selfish. Yeah, largely, this is seen in Japan. You might see it in dating and romance sites. It's shown in some anime and manga. And what about O? Apple Dragon says, what do O blood types seem to be? Well, O, those are the sigmas. Those are the sigmas. They're considered confident and charismatic. They're natural leaders, very ambitious, sort of haughty types. And it is sort of an astrology type thing. But that's why you might see this listed in shows and manga. Sort of a vampire astrology. Yeah, Rao. It's shown here in this character. It shows their blood type, type O. Then there's this blood type chart. Maybe some of you remember. But then, of course, there's Street Fighter. We all remember that. Ryu's blood type is O. Danganronpa, Ivy says, it probably is. Dr. Stone, there we go. That's the other one, Rao. Yeah, I like this Dr. Stone chart here because it gives you an idea of how common blood type is perceived. I like that he does say, does get the accurate thing there. Since I'm blood type AB, any blood will do fine. Also, there's Mecha whose blood type is oil. Oh yeah, there's this character here. You might, I don't know, maybe you've heard of her. Probably not, though. I saw this one in a Google search. I thought I'd put this one up here. I don't recognize her. Is she well known? I wouldn't know. Maybe I've seen her in passing before. But yes, the perception of blood types and how common they are. Some of you, even when you were guessing, were off a little bit. The actual numbers versus the anime and manga numbers. If you look at anime and manga and you try to calculate how many characters are stated to have the different blood types, O blood is seen in about 20% of characters. A and B blood is evenly split at about 32% each. And AB is the rarest. So they're right about AB, blood types being the rarest. Although even that is quite exaggerated. They're way underestimating O. They've got A just about right. But they think B is way more common, these anime and manga writers. They think B is way more common than it actually is. I wonder why that is. There isn't a right answer, but I wonder why that is. They got rid of all the Sigmas. That's right, Apple Dragon. They didn't want too many Mary Sues, I guess. And why would you need more B? Why would you have more B characters? Remember what the B personalities were. The outgoing, the extroverts, the more likely to be unique and different, the creative types. Maybe that's because that's what the manga and anime writers are? I don't know. Or maybe they just need characters that are more like that. Trying to, I guess, rewrite humanity. Yeah, they might be more popular types of characters to write about, Rao. And then AB might be way more represented than they are because they want to have characters that are a mix of both of them. Even though only about 1 in 20 characters should be statistically AB. Yeah, just an interesting little aside on the blood types. But now we get into a different whole thing entirely. This is all the stuff we have about the red blood cells. But there's another type of blood cell. There's another type of blood cell. And those are the white blood cells. Yes, yes. What are they? Well, they are a part of our immune system. There are a bunch of different types of white blood cells. Just like there's a bunch of different types of red blood cell types. But the white blood cells each are specialized. They have their own special job to help defend us against viruses and infections and parasites, and to attack those things and destroy them. Like this guy here. You might recognize this thing, this creature, this being. This is what a neutrophil looks like. This is what a neutrophil looks like. This is what's actually going on inside your blood. Millions of little guys like this. The neutrophils. These are the first responders. They make up the largest percentage of your blood. Well, of your white blood cells. 55 to 70%. These are the first to arrive when you get infected or injured. These types of white blood cells will trap and eat those invaders, those bacteria and fungi. And they can release enzymes to kill those microbes. They have to signal other immune cells. So pretty great. We love those, but they only live a few hours to a few days. They don't last very long. Fun fact. Pus is mostly dead neutrophils. pus is made up of mostly dead these guys. And that's what elevated, yes, Raul, that's why elevated white cell counts are a sign of infection. Very good. Yeah, that's a delightful fun fact, isn't it, Avel? And yes, the blood type does matter for white blood cells as well. But there are other types of white blood cells, lots of them. Like this delightful creature, the macrophage. She might look sweet and innocent, but she is not. Or they eat dead cells. They eat dead cells, and I don't mean the game Dead Cell, and I don't mean that faction in Metal Gear. They help to present the antigens to other immune cells. They recognize what's going on. They are present also in wound healing because they're seatbelts, everyone. Beep, beep. No, never a normal field trip when you are in my classroom. Thank you so much, Osmosis Ghost, for bringing your class on a field trip to mine. It's great to have you with us. There are also the eosinophils, the parasite patrol. They have the smallest percentage of our white blood cells, only 1 to 4%, but they target big old things like parasites. And yes, they are actually like that. They look like this. They are pigtailed anime girls with a big pronghorned spear, and that's how they kill the worms. Yes. Got worms in your brain. You're going to need one of those. Sadly, some people don't have them. Anyway, they are involved in allergic reactions. If you have elevated levels of eosinophils, those are common in people who are allergic to things and who have parasitic infections. So if you have high eosinophil count, it may indicate asthma or an autoimmune condition. Avel Dragon, when you burned yourself with a soldering iron 2 hours ago, macrophages showed up? Yeah, they did. They helped to clean up all of those dead cells. Eat them up, yum. Delicious. Dracula. Macrophage does sound like some kind of character from Warhammer. Yeah. There are also the basophiles. The based files. They are like the secret spies. They help to trigger alarms. They raise the alarm. They spot what's going on. They also trigger the histamine reaction, so they help with the allergic reaction as well. They help to start inflammation, because inflammation, not always a bad thing. Sometimes you need inflammation. Sometimes it's the appropriate bodily response. We have a problem in society of having too much inflammation from a lot of different sources and reasons, but sometimes it is the appropriate thing. There are a couple other types, though. A couple other very important types. The lymphocytes. The specialists within the specialists. Like this tall drink of water. You might recognize this guy. I need a hat that says that. I need a hat that just says kill on it. I think that would suit me. The killer T cells. The killer Mr. T cells, they destroy other infected cells. And if exposed to a particular type of infection, invader, they can become memory T cells. They remember. I remember. They remember that infection, and they are more adept at killing it. They're jacked in like Neo into the Matrix. I know Kung Fu. And this tall drink of water right here. That's what they look like. Swimming around in your blood. The natural killer. They are able to attack infected cells without needing to be exposed to them first. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Anyway, there's also the regulatory T cells. They help coordinate things from the command center. They direct the immune response, sort of commanders on the field. And the B cells. They make the antibodies, and they can become memory B cells. More adept at making antibodies because they remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. No, but of course this is what they actually look like. They are not hot anime boys and girls. They are little cells, but still just as important, perhaps more important than hot anime characters. Yes, there are things more important than hot anime characters. Not many, but they exist. But there's a whole other thing still in our blood, besides the white blood cells and the red blood cells. And it's the platelets. The platelets, and what are the platelets? Well, the platelets are the little things in our blood that help to form clots. Sometimes you do want them. We've talked about this many times before, but I've had the ones you don't want. You can have them when you don't want them, but sometimes you really do. They form these little fibrils, band together and help to seal up wounds. But we need our platelets because, well, sometimes we need these little creatures. These are the platelets from cells at work. This is not what they look like swimming around in your blood, but they do band together, do construction work in our body. Platelets are cell fragments, Apple Dragon. They're sort of a fragment of a cell. They contain proteins. They themselves are not proteins. They're their own thing. Tiny little cell fragments. Is a sprain a part of platelets? No, you would have, though, you would have an immune response to an injury to your muscles. And your blood would need to carry away the injured cells. And that's why you have, that's partially why you have inflammation after you have a sprained ankle or something. Yeah, platelets don't have a cell nucleus. So that would not be a cell on their own. But still another very important part of our blood. There is still one more very important part of our blood that we need to talk about. And it is the fourth state of matter. It is indeed plasma. Plasma is what carries all of those cells. It's what swirls them all around in your blood, swirls them all around in your vessels, your arteries and veins. It helps to circulate all of the stuff we eat, all of our nutrients, all of the chemicals that we make, or don't make enough of in some cases. Plasma also is very useful at maintaining the right pressure in our blood. It will increase or decrease to keep it at just the right level. On its own, when it's separated from the rest of the blood, it's a deep, deep yellow color, like you see there. It looks like some delicious Sunny D. I wonder why Dracula doesn't just drink this. This looks way more appetizing than the Kool-Aid red blood. But plasma might not seem very important on its own. If it doesn't have the red blood cells, and it doesn't have the white blood cells, and it doesn't have the platelets, well, then I guess it's just sort of like the liquid that carries it all, right? Not all that important on its own, right? Well, you're wrong. It contains antibodies. It contains other important stuff, other important proteins, other chemical factors that our body needs. Do not drink the forbidden Sunny D. No, no. Yeah, that's what it looks like when you start separating the blood from the plasma. And you think, well, all the important stuff is down here in the red. Nope, this stuff is really important too. You've had removed some from your body, osmosis ghost. Well, you're a ghost. I imagine at some point all of it was taken out. But all of these things together, they're pretty important, and you can't live without all of them together. Before we began figuring all this out, before we started doing transfusions, before we knew about all of these different factors, hemophilia was a very deadly condition. I'm sure you've heard of it before. But at the beginning of the lesson, I brought up hemophilia. What do you think the life expectancy was for a child with hemophilia? And while you're thinking about that, Avril asks, what do they do with the blood part when you donate plasma? They give you back your blood. 5, we've got 9. If you were lucky, you might live to be 11. Some might live longer, not as long. But what do you think it was? What do you think it became now that blood transfusions are fairly common and accessible? Master Kevin gives the funny sex number. Is somebody going to give me the 67 answer? The 67? Well, it's 73. It's basically normal average lifespan now. A person with hemophilia might live to be as old as anyone else. That is how revolutionary blood transfusion has become. And each and every part of the blood is important and necessary. Whole blood, that is, when you donate and it's all of the stuff in the blood. They take just the regular blood that's pumping through your body right now, put it in a bag. It's used for all kinds of things like trauma and accidents, like we were talking at the top, surgery, hemorrhage, red blood, where it's just the red blood cells, critically needed for sickle cell syndrome, anemia. People who are getting cancer treatments have reduced red blood count because of the effect of the chemotherapy. And people with autoimmune disorders also receive red blood. Quizmaster Kevin, your special gift will be waiting for you at the end of the lesson, and it's that I will put your clip at the top of the behavior chart and put a gold star by your name. Platelets, those clotting factors, those are also needed for people with chemotherapy, people undergoing transplants, people who have bleeding issues, because, well, those are the clotting factors. And plasma. Plasma is necessary for clotting disorders as well. It's used for people who have severe infections and immune disorders. Many of your favorite VTubers might have a chronic condition where they need some kind of blood or plasma treatment. I'm not very familiar with all of the big names, but I know that Iron Mouse has an autoimmune condition. Very likely receives some kind of blood or plasma related treatment. But I want to talk a little bit more about plasma because it's sort of misunderstood. People hear about going and donating plasma for money, but what is it actually used for? We talked about the immune conditions just now, but plasma does a whole lot else. Because plasma is made into a lot of medicines. Plasma is used in research. Hundreds of thousands of people rely on treatments that are made from plasma. Because plasma, these concentrated antibodies that can be derived from it, they boost the immune system to help fight infections. People with primary immunodeficiency disorders can't produce enough antibodies on their own. So plasma can help them prevent serious infections. And it can help prevent infections for people who are undergoing chemotherapy. Plasma-related treatments can help replace missing or deficient clotting factors for people who have bleeding disorders. So people with certain types of hemophilia. Albumin Albumin as well is a treatment derived from plasma. It's a protein that helps regulate blood volume and pressure. It helps keep the right balance in your bloodstream. Helps you circulate those essential compounds in your blood like hormones and can help circulate medication. People who have certain organ problems might not have enough albumin. And it is albumin, as Rao was just pointing out, that is used to help burn victims to stabilize their blood pressure. Helps prevent shock. More generally, though, every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Every 2 seconds, someone needs some kind of blood-related treatment. Someone needs a transfusion. And on average, they need 3 pints. But they might need up to 100 in a serious surgery situation. About 40,000 units are used every day. And it saves thousands of lives every day. How about you? Some of you have already mentioned it. Have you ever needed it? Have you ever had surgery where you got a blood transfusion or received plasma? Or received some kind of blood or plasma related treatment or medicine? I have, of course, as you know, needed plasma when I was in the hospital for a while. Help regulate my blood pressure and volume. But statistically speaking, 1 in 7 people will need it in their lifetime. 1 in 7 people will get blood at some point in their life. But we don't have enough. And there is a massive cost to the fact that we don't have enough. Insufficient blood quantity, understocked blood banks. Why do you think this would have a huge cost to us? Remember when we were talking about the flu and making sure that we were preventing ourselves from spreading it, from spreading common illness? The massive financial cost, the economic burden of people getting sick. What's similar here? Higher death tolls, yes, Rao. More people sick for longer. If people aren't getting the treatments they need from these blood and plasma created medicines, it's a big cost to our society. And the distribution is uneven, where we do have plenty of blood and where we don't have plenty of blood. Remember when we talked about hand washing in that flu prevention lesson? People who don't have access to clean running water for regular hand washing, that fact helps keep people trapped in cycles of illness. Those are the reasons why it's so important. But of course, some places make sure that they always have plenty of blood. Something to think about. Makes you think. So we've talked about what blood is and what each component does and why it's so important. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this, or the blood and plasma of this. Let's talk about donating. Let's talk about first donating whole blood. Those whole blood bags that you see. Yes, yes. Maybe the most commonly known type of blood donation. You can donate whole blood in lots of places. There are usually blood drives in your schools and workplaces, at community clinics, community events. And these are actually the simplest way. Usually these are the first type of donation you might give because they are generally fast. You don't need to do a lot. If you want a quick, simple way to help, donate whole blood. It only takes about 45 minutes. Blood can drive? I mean, better than some people. I mean, it probably only takes about 15 minutes for the actual draw, but 45 minutes to an hour for the whole process, getting set up, going through the initial screening. But in under an hour, you can make this amazing gift. You can donate this amazing gift of life in under an hour. They just take 1 pint or about half a liter. Simple as that. Simple as. And in this procedure, they simply draw blood from a vein. None of the components have to be separated. Just keep it all together. And really, it just feels like that brief needle stick. Some mild pressure. That's about it. And you can do it about once every 2 months, or up to 6 times a year. But if you can only do it once, hey, that's still an amazing gift. Generally, this is the, like I said, easiest way. It has a relatively quick recovery. If you don't have the ability to go very often, but you can go once for a longer period of time, you can consider donating just red blood cells. Sometimes called power red donations, or double red cell donation. This is especially helpful for people who have type O blood or type A or B negative blood. At different donation centers and clinics, you can give power red donations, where it does take about 90 minutes, but then you're giving people twice the amount of the red blood cells. With this, though, they actually return the plasma and platelets back into your body. So while they are drawing the red blood cells, they are returning the plasma and platelets, the other parts of the blood. It can be a little bit more intense than a regular whole blood donation, and there's sort of a cool sensation in the arm because the saline is bringing back the other parts of the blood. And you might feel a little bit more drained afterwards, so to speak. And that is correct. Wow, it only takes a few days. Your red blood cells recuperate pretty quickly. It does take a little bit longer after these double red cell donations. You do want to rest up afterwards, and we are going to go in depth on the how to prepare and what to do before and after. They take what is essentially 2 units, but just the red blood cells, and they give you back the rest. You get that blood refund. So if you can't go very often, but you've got some time, you can double your impact with a double red cell donation. Then, of course, there's also platelets. The little anime characters running around in your body. Yes, yes, you can donate platelets. You might not know if you have a high platelet count, but if you do, if they test and you do, this can be very helpful to people. It takes a while to do, but it is very necessary, very important, very needed. But it also is very well tolerated because they're only taking the platelets. Places like Red Cross and Vitalant, you can go and give platelet donations. And you can go once a week. Just the regular mild discomfort of a needle, which, common. Might feel a little chilly. Yes, generally very well tolerated. It is just that it takes a little longer, and that's okay. Because we'll talk about the stuff you can do. Then we get to the one that a lot of people know about, and that maybe some of you have done or are doing. And that is plasma. Where the plasma is what's separated from the blood that they take, and they give the rest back to you. And yes, as you may know, you may be compensated for your time. They don't actually pay you for the plasma. Legally, they can't do that, generally. They count it as a compensation for the time that you've put forth. But, yes, you can donate at places like BioLife or Grifols. Make sure to bring your ID, your medical history, and your bank info, because you'll want to get that compensation if they are offering it. The first time Might take about 2 hours, but after that, it's about 45 minutes. If you are someone who can be a frequent donor, this might be very good for you. And it is just that normal, mild discomfort of the needle at first, and then a little bit of cool sensation when the rest of that blood is returned to you. Some people feel a little fatigued after, but it's significantly less than a whole blood or red cell blood donation. Red cell blood? Red blood cell donation. Because you've got all of your red blood cells still in there, circulating all the stuff it needs to. And people can donate plasma up to twice a week, as long as you have a 48-hour break in between. Well, you should be refraining from coffee and cigarettes and alcohol. You should not be smoking or drinking in general. But if you are, you should at least refrain from those for a little while before you donate. And you might want to avoid caffeine as well. And 24 to 48 hours prior, in the day or two before you plan to donate, drink lots of water. Drink a little water to hydrate yourself. And it's also helpful to avoid fried foods and saturated fats. Get more iron-rich food. Or things. Drink a little water. I knew someone would redeem it. To hydrate yourself. Iron-rich foods, like from chicken, nuts, beans, legumes, legume. And of course, get a good night's sleep. You should check out our sleep lesson if you don't know the good tips for that. You should always be drinking water. You will die if you don't, actually, from what I've heard. In the hours right up to the donation, make sure that you eat a good meal and you drink a couple of glasses of water. Dress comfortably. Make sure that your arm's going to be easily available. And charge your phone or tablet. Charge it up before you go and have your games, your music, your shows ready. Most of these are going to be only about 45 minutes. Pick an episode of your favorite show, load it up on your phone or tablet or laptop, bring it in and just watch that show. And by the time it's done, you'll be done donating. You can even, I guess, read a book if you wanted to, I guess, as long as you were staying engaged in something else. People read books, right? They still read books. And you have an arm free. You can still play a game. The other thing you can do, though, is chat. Keep yourself engaged in something else. And one of the best ways you can do that is to talk. Even more engaging than watching a show or playing a game is talking to someone. That back and forth interaction is very distracting from whatever else is going on in your arm. Bring a friend. This makes it way easier to do if you bring someone with you. You're both there to support each other, and you're more likely to do it. It's like if you have a workout buddy. It's harder to just quit. It's harder to say, I don't feel like it today. I don't feel like going today. You've already committed to it with someone else. You're more likely to go and go through with it. Bring a friend. What you shouldn't do, though, is watch the clock. That never helps, whether it's during class or during a blood donation. And avoid any stressful content. That's what helps me, at least. You might want to watch a show. That's a great idea. Try not to watch a show that's going to be distressing or stressful. Like I wouldn't watch CSI while I was doing it. And certainly don't watch The Needle unless you really like that sort of thing. Yeah, you don't want your blood to taste sour to Nosferatu, the insufferable one. What does it feel like? Just a slight fatigue, and you might feel that little chilliness like we talked about for the red and plasma donations. And again, whole blood is often easiest for beginners, and plasma has a really quick recovery. You can be right back up to activity in the next day or two. But the first tip for what to do during the donation is called applied muscle tension. And it's something that they might actually tell you about when you're at the clinic or the center.
You can take to ensure you have a safe and comfortable experience when donating blood, including applied muscle tension, AMT. AMT is a series of simple exercises that help your blood pressure stay up and improve blood flow, so your chance of experiencing any side effects like fainting stays low. While AMT can be helpful if performed throughout your donation and afterwards while in the refreshment area, it is most helpful if performed during these specific times: when the needle goes in and comes out, before standing, after your donation, anytime you feel faint or unwell. To do AMT, cross your legs, squeeze your inner thighs and abdominal muscles, point your toes, hold for 5 seconds, then relax for 5 seconds. Repeat 5 times, then switch legs. That's it.
But of course, the biggest thing to help yourself prepare is getting past the jab. Once you get past that first part, the rest is basically easy. You just sit there. But this part can be the hardest for people. It can be scary at first. So let's get past the jab. Let's get past the scary part. Because once we get past that, we're golden. There are a couple techniques that you can use. And while it's scary at first, there's nothing to worry about. There really isn't. Because side effects from donating are incredibly rare, and they're primarily pretty minor. A little bruising at the site, a little lightheadedness. But only 3 out of 100 people have any side effects at all, even these minor ones. And you'll be very proud of yourself once you're done. So, all you really need is a moment's mental distraction, just a little bit of a distraction. Counting can really help. Counting the tiles on the ceiling, counting the lights, counting the people as they mill around. You can pick a spot and focus on it. Pick the fire alarm and look at it intently. Focus on all the details. Do that presence exercise where you think about how something might feel, its texture, how it might feel to your fingers. Think about its color. Run your mental hands all over it. Don't do that with a person, though. Concentrate on the details of that spot that you're looking at. Mentally prep yourself up. Remind yourself of just how important what you're doing is. And that, it's going to be over pretty soon. It's not going to last forever. It's going to happen. You've made the choice. You're going to do it. And it'll pass. And gas yourself up. Tell yourself how awesome you are for doing this. Because you are. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone wants to do it. But if you're in that chair doing it, you're doing way more than a lot of people. And if you can't donate, there's still so much that you can do to help. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You can be someone who is doing way more than other people. My favorite technique is this, though. I do this every time I need a blood draw, every time I give blood, every time I get a needle. I do the cuticle squeeze. I do the cuticle squeeze where I just take the nail of my thumb and I pinch it against the cuticle of one of my other fingers. And this really helps distract me from the needle. Your brain can't really concentrate on too many sharp things at once happening. Like the thing, if you ever, had someone put a pencil point on your back and then another pencil point on another part of your back, you can't really feel where both exactly are. Kind of how this works. I like the cuticle squeeze. It really distracts me. It's a minor amount of self-inflicted pain that distracts me from the temporary needle pinch. I like the cuticle squeeze. That works for me. You can also pinch just about anything. You just pinch your leg. Pinch the thick part of your thigh or your nipple. Yes, you can pinch your nipple, I guess, if you want. That is a pretty sharp and distracting pain. Might distract other people, though. But what should you do afterwards? What do you do when you're done donating? What about the aftercare? Well, stay a while. Don't just dip out of the clinic right away. Sit there for a few minutes. Wait for 15 minutes. Make sure you're all good to go. There's usually a snack available for you. They usually have like a bucket of snacks for you. Chips and cookies and stuff. Drink a bunch of water. They've usually got some OJ or apple juice there. Sit around and relax. Make sure that you're ready before you go. And in the immediate aftermath, avoid any strenuous activity, but only for about 24 to 48 hours, depending on what type of donation you did. Drink a little bit of extra water each hour. And for your next meal, make it something that's easy to tolerate, something simple, but something iron rich, like we talked about with the beans and legumes and the nuts and chicken and fish. And of course, the big one, get some rest. If you can make it something that you do towards the end of the day where you don't got a whole lot else to do that day, all the better. So of course you want to donate now. I'm sure you do. So, can you? Are you eligible? Well, generally, the guidelines for donation are just these. That a person is 18 or older, although there are some exceptions. That you are at least 100 pounds or 46 kilograms, that they know that you're going to handle it. You may be deferred, get a deferral, that means you have to wait. If you've recently had a tattoo, and this varies by state, it's usually a couple months. If you've traveled overseas recently, you might need to wait for a little while. And in general, you can't be taking antibiotics. There are some medications that are contraindicators for donating blood, but they'll ask you about that. They'll ask you a series of questions to make sure that everything's all good to go. Don't worry. But I want to talk about one specific person. I want to talk about one specific person as we get towards the end of the lesson. I'm going to talk about the man with the golden arm. James Harrison. This guy right here. Seems like a regular old guy. James Harrison, born in 1936, started donating when he was 18 years old. So 1954. Right? 10, 14, yeah. When he did so because he had needed a blood donation when he was younger. He needed blood to live. He was younger. So he decided when he was 18, he was going to give blood. And when he did, that first time, when he turned 18, when he could first donate, they found that he had very high levels of an important antigen. And that his blood would be particularly helpful to people. So he donated every 21 days for the rest of his life. Up until he got old enough to the point where he could no longer do so regularly. So he donated 1,200 times. Donated his special blood 1,200 times. Or about every 21 days. Every 3 weeks, he would go back and donate again. Again and again. Because this blood that he has, this high level antigen, the antibodies that were produced could be processed to create immunoglobulin-based products. That's a fancy word, but basically they helped prevent newborn disease. Remember we talked about the Rh positive and negative mismatch between mother and child. If an Rh negative mother had an Rh positive baby, during and after pregnancy they would be given this treatment to prevent the creation of the antibodies that would lead to the problems. By giving them this treatment, this antigen sensitization is prevented. Incompatibility between the two would normally cause something called rhesus disease, which would cause this hemolytic disorder. But basically, babies and mothers would be given a treatment that was made by blood like this guy's. And this guy's blood, and those like him, well, they saved thousands and thousands and thousands of babies over the years. So I asked someone, what is a hero? If a bystander pulls a kid from a car wreck that they see on the side of the road, they stop and they put themselves at risk to pull that kid out of the wreck. Are they a hero? Most people would say that they are. I would probably say that they're a hero. It's a heroic thing to do. So is James a hero? I think most people would say so. I think most people would agree. But he didn't need to rush into a burning building. He just, once every 3 weeks, went and sat down for about an hour and freely gave the gift of life. Of course, he also helped found an advocacy group to help find other people who had this antigen. And in total, he and this group, their blood created millions of doses of this important treatment. Yeah, King, hero with a capital H. You don't necessarily need to rush into burning buildings to be a hero, or pull people from car wrecks to be a hero. You don't even need to donate blood every 21 days. You donate blood once, or once a year, or whenever your company's yearly blood drive happens. That might save just as many people as rushing into that burning building. Or save more. There's an obsession, I think, in the world right now, especially, where people talk about how brave they would be in a crisis. Or what they would do to protect someone, to protect their families when the chips were down. But a lot of people aren't brave enough to make small everyday sacrifices. Someone might say, I'd kill for my family, when they won't even wash the dishes for their family. You don't have to make grand, sweeping gestures to be a hero. You just make small everyday sacrifices for someone else. No, Rao. I have psychically taken your brain cell, and now you must split it with me. Men will go to war before they do the laundry. Exactly. But you can make this difference. You can help an organization like Impact Life, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because it's a very great organization that I want to help get the word out about. But of course, you can donate at the American Red Cross. You can donate all the different types of blood at mobile blood drives, at blood centers. You can just search by zip code to see where the closest place to donate is to you. And there's a blood donor app. Vitalant, formerly known as United Blood Services, also is a place that you can donate all blood types to. They have locations in most of the US states. For donating plasma, of course, there is BioLife Plasma. One of the places where they compensate you for your time where you donate. In Canada, there is the Canadian Blood Services in all the provinces except Quebec. You can go to the Give Blood app, found at blood.ca. For those who are Quebecois or in Quebec, you can go to HEMA-Quebec at our HEMA-Quebec.qc.ca. They need to have their own special thing. But I mentioned earlier, of course, that you don't need to actually donate blood if you can't. There are still other ways that you can help. So what else can we do as communities, as societies, as governments? What else can we do? Not just if we can't donate blood, but what can we do besides just donating blood to help these same types of causes? We could stop getting hurt. That's right. That's actually a very good point. We could help prevent accidents and injuries and illnesses that require blood and plasma and platelets. That would actually be a really good idea. It would be great if we could work towards a society where disease and accident were prevented. We could do that in the meantime. We could encourage and participate in and help out more blood drives and fundraisers. You can volunteer at these blood drives and fundraisers. You can be a part of awareness campaigns. We could perhaps offer benefits for blood donation. You know, the other types of blood donation that aren't compensated, maybe we could offer a tax break for that. Maybe we could give tax breaks to that instead of, some billionaire who gives a donation to their own charity they control and funnels the money back to themselves and buys a yacht. Jeff. You'd give blood for help with a down payment on a home rally? Hey, there you go. Give a housing benefit. But there are things that we could do. And you don't need to be a blood donor yourself to help out. The need for volunteers is also constant. But I just wanted to get you thinking about what else that you could do, what else we can do as communities. Maybe I and others start a Vtuber blood drive. What do you think about that? But there are a lot of things that you can do if you can't donate. And one of those things I want to bring up, as I mentioned, is Impact Life. Partners for Life. This is an organization that is regional in my area. And they have a fantastic website that has all different kinds of things you can do to help besides just donating. Different ways that you can get involved and help. I want to play this little video.
Have you heard? There's a movement growing, full of folks like you helping, ready to change the world. At Impact Life, there are partners for life, and we all have a shared purpose to make positive change through blood donation. Partners for Life come from across our communities to give blood. Blood donation is a simple way to help people, including those fighting cancer, undergoing surgery, or involved in a trauma. Blood cannot be manufactured, so it's up to our blood donors to make sure the life-saving medicine patients need is ready when they need it. Give as a group. Your impact multiplies when you give as a group, and when we team up with our community workplaces, schools, and other groups to keep blood on the shelves at local hospitals, that means it's ready when patients need it. Give time. Volunteers are at the heart of what we do. Giving your time is a meaningful way to make a big difference in your community. Give money. There's more than one way to give. As a community nonprofit, our charitable partners provide funding that keep us on the cutting edge of medical technology and help us cultivate the next generation of lifesavers through our school grant program, Advanced Medicine. Blood is medicine. And as a research partner, you can be part of groundbreaking medical research through clinical studies. It's an impactful way to help patients today and in the future. Advocate. Spread our message far and wide. Advocacy partners amplify our message to ensure blood supply is ready for when patients are counting on it. As a partner for life, each action you take ripples across our communities to help save lives and empower others to do the same. And when we partner to save lives, we change the world together.
So absolutely, as you see, there are many ways that you can help. You can come together with others in your community and give as a group. And as we talked about, going with other people makes it more likely that you will go through with it. They have convenient ways for you to find out how you can volunteer. Your donations and your assistance can help advance medical research. And you can find ways that you can advocate to help spread the word. If you go to their website, you can find all kinds of great links like this. You can answer the eligibility questions right up front before you even go in. Find different ways to donate. Find all their different locations. Hear from other donors. Find out how you can participate in things like high school drives. Lots of different ways that you can help. So let's go through our final thoughts. Do some Q&A. What did you think? Do you have questions? I know that you do. You always do, and that's great. Yeah, and that would be a pretty good fit for Halloween. You don't know your blood type. How can you figure it out? Very good question. Well, when you go to the clinic or the blood drive, your blood is tested and you'll receive your blood type information. You can also just get a kit, a home kit that you can find online. Find a good one, a reputable one, I mean. And you do a little pinprick on your finger, and you can mix the blood with a little vial they provide. Find it out. Your medical records themselves might have that information in it if you can get a hold of them. Of course, as we talked about it, any type of blood is necessary, but you might also have a very important type of blood. Maybe you have a special antigen. Maybe the blood that you donate, they do research and find out, hey, this person's blood is amazing. Blood loot box. What's in the bag? But that is a pretty good idea about the Vtuber blood drive. Once I get this lesson edited up, I will put it up on the YouTube channel. Maybe I will share it out to some other VTubers and see if we can't get a little VTuber blood drive going before winter, because there's a reason I did this lesson when I did. It's because winter is a particularly important time for blood donation. There is a much higher demand during the winter for blood because of the increase in illnesses and accidents. I bet... Dragon, you say you bet I am an A positive person. I mean, I'm an A plus person. I was very good at getting A pluses. Probably not a very positive person. In fact, just thinking about this makes me think, no, other VTubers aren't going to want to do stuff with me. I'm a nobody. I'm a plain Jane. All the discourse recently about certain types of VTubers, you know what I'm talking about? And how, oh, design is so important, and if you're too plain, no one will care. It's all... Makes me feel bad. It hurt my feelings. I have feelings. But I think it's just about time. We had a great lesson, and you did a great job listening and asking questions and learning. So I will get you your certificate of completion if you want it in the Discord, which of course you can find there. And the lesson will be edited tomorrow and put in the YouTube channel playlist there.